Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we'll be learning how to make this beautiful underbust gathered gown with a lacing bar at the back and the basque waistline. So this gown is actually a beautiful gown that you can add to your ready to wear collection. You can make it in different beautiful prints and prints that will pop out, so add to your ready to wear collection. But I only had a plain fabric at my disposal, so I made use of it. If you are new to this channel, please kindly like my videos and subscribe to this channel. We have new tutorials coming out every week. If you're an old subscriber, thank you so much for your love and your support. So I'll proceed to marking out all my horizontal measurements. I'll be marking from my shoulder to my armhole line, my bust points, my under bust, my half length, and my hip line. So I'll just be rolling out all the lines that are marked. So after marking my horizontal lines, I'm going to be marking my neckline. So for the neckline, I'm using 3 inches. I will also mark my shoulder line. The shoulder line is where I'll be inserting the wideness of how I want the neck, the part where I will attach my rope to be. You can make it as wide or as tiny as you want it to be. So, but for mine, I will reduce it from my shoulder line. By the time I've proceeded to connecting the armhole to that part, you understand what I mean. So now I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement starting from my armhole line. I'll mark my nipple to nipple measurement all the way to my hip line, and I will just connect it with a straight line. So after that, I'm now going to connect my neckline to the depth I want it to be. So for my neck depth, I want my neck depth to be 1 inch below my bust point. You can make yours as high or as low as you want. So I just wanted mine to be 1 inch below my nipple points. So after that, I will proceed to I'll mark out my underbust dart. So for my underbust dart, I'll be using 1.25 on both sides. I'll mark the dart up to my hip line. If your bust is big, for a bigger bust you might want to use 1.5 or 1.75. For a smaller bust, 1 inch on both sides is enough. It's just to pleat it by the time you are done. So I'll connect it. So I'll be using my curve ruler now. I'll come down and use my curve ruler to connect the curve to my nipple point. So after that, I'll proceed to mark I will divide my bust measurement into 4. I'll be dividing all my measurement into 4 and adding my seam allowance. For my under bust, I will divide it into 4, add my darts that I took, and add my seam allowance. I will do the same for all other parts till I get to my hip line, my half length, and my hip line as well. Make sure that you divide into 4, add that you took out, and then add your seam allowance. So when I'm done, I'll just connect with a straight line. So now I want to determine how the difference between my back and my front waistline is 1.5. So I'll just connect it to my bust line as well. So for my neck width, I'll be using 3 inches for the part where I will connect. For my neck width is the same part I'll connect my rope to. So I'll just connect it now from my armhole line to the neck width. I'll just use a curved line to connect it. You can do it as wide as you want. If you want yours to be wider than that, you can increase it. If you want yours to be smaller than that, you can use 2 inches if you like, but I prefer the 3 inches. I want my rope to be a bit broad. So after that, I'm going to slash my bust darts. Then I'll also slash the middle darts of my I'll just slash that middle part where I have my underbust darts from my hip length to my underbust dart, so I'll be able to close the bust dart. So I'll close the bust dart now when I've slashed it open. So make sure that before you close yours, make sure that you connect the underbust on a straight, I'll just overlap it first of all before cutting yours out. But I already cut mine out, so I'll just add a piece of paper to avoid any shortage that is there, although mine wasn't that short, but just to show you how, in case you've already cut yours out. So I'll just draw the straight line like this now, and then I'll just trim the excess off to make sure that there's no shortage at that part. So after that, I'm now going to cut out my darts. I'll be cutting out my darts. So after cutting out my darts, the style line is from the underbust. The underbust has is where the plate starts from. So I'll just cut the underbust part out. I'll just tape the other parts together to make sure that it stays in one piece, because that is what will determine where we'll mark our basque from. So I'll just tape it together to stay in one piece. Now you can determine how long you want your basque to be. I'll just come down from my half length line now by 4 inches. If you want yours to be 3 inches, you can do it as well, but I want mine to be 4 inches. The basque line at the waistline, the waistline has a V, so I'll be coming down from the half length now by 4 inches. Now that is the part that has my basque. So this is one. By the time I finish pleating, my underbust is going to sit on that part. So now I'll just cut out my neckline. So for the underbust, that place I will have that space, I'm going to fill it up because we are not sewing it, we are going to pleat it. So I'm going to fill it up. We are going to pleat it so that it will fit back into that part that we cut on that basque. So I'm just going to fill it up and then cut it straight back. So I'll just tape it down. So I'll just cut the excess out, and by the time I'm done, when I've cut it, I'll go and cut everything on fabric. Then make sure that when you pleat it, it's going to fit exactly into that part. So for the other parts, I'm just going to, first of all, I've already cut out everything on paper, on my fabric, sorry. So I want to cut the back out. Now for the back, from the starting to that part where I have the straight line is already my half length. So I'll be cutting the basque out, the basque part out, the part where I extended by 4 inches, I'll cut it out. So I'll be able to use just this part for the half length of the back. The back is open, so just that little place is where I'm going to have my band, where I'll be putting my loop. So I'll just label the center of my back, the up and the down. So from the center of my back, I'm going to be marking my opening. For the upper part, I'll be removing 2 inches. Then for the lower part, I'll be removing 1 inch, and I'll just connect it slant. Sorry, for the upper part, yes, I'm taking 2 inches out from the upper part. From the lower part, I'm removing 1 inch. Then I'll cut it out slant because I'm going to be having loops on that part where I'll be using as a lacing bar. I'll be using loops as my lacing bar. You can open it as wide as you want or as tiny as you want. So now I'm going to be cutting 4 pieces of this. So I'm cutting 4 pieces of this part because I'll be using one to turn the other. So for the upper part of the dress, I'm cutting everything double. So I'm cutting my front part and my back part double. So if you don't want yours to have a lining, you can just weave it and cut it in one piece each. So now I've gone ahead to attach hairstay to the main fabric because now one part is going to be a lining and this is the main fabric. So I'll make sure that I pleat it and it's able to fit into the part that has the basque. So now I've gone ahead to pleat it. And I'll just make sure to pin it to attach it to that part that has the back. Then I'm also going to be attaching the back. Just the way I arranged it is the same way I'm going to sew it, just like that, the way I continued it from the side. So I'll go and sew it and come back. I'll do the same thing to the lining. Now I've joined it already. I'll go and do the same thing to the lining part of it. So this is it. I've joined the back, you see the back, and I've joined the front. So I'm going to sew the loops on the side of the back like this, the middle part of the back. I've gone ahead, just use your fabric to run a tiny loop and sew it to the both sides of the back. So I've gone ahead to attach the loops to it. So now I'm going to be using the lining part that I sewed exactly like this as well to turn the whole upper part of the dress. So now this is the way I'm going to be turning it. I'll just make sure I pin it in place, then I'll go to my sewing machine and just run it all through, so that every excess allowance that I had added initially, then I'll sew it all the way around, and then I will notch the whole of the inside and iron it. So I've notched it already, ironed it properly, and I just laid it down like this. So now what is left is I'm going to be gathering my straight fabric. I decided to make that place a bit sharp of my rope, so you can make any shape you want. So I'm going to go to my cut my fabric that I'll be using to draw the gathers. Now I'm cutting a straight pieces of fabric. I cut my fabric, I divided my waist measurements, and I times my waist measurement into 4. You can times yours into 3. I times mine into 4, excluding the part that has the opening. I'll show you what I mean. So for the parts that I took out for my loop, this part of it, I took out 2 inches, so it's going to be 4 inches. By the time I was done sewing it was about 5. So when I want to sew my gathers on my fabric, I will times that part by, instead of 4, I times mine by 3. The part that has that extra for the loop, I gathered my original waist measurement round, and I will sew it first of all. But the part that I'm leaving out is the part that I am supposed to gather for my zipper allowance and for the loop. By the time I'm going to sew it, you understand what I mean. But first of all, make sure that when you are gathering your gown, you are going to leave an excess at the both sides that will lead to the zipper allowance. So I first of all go and join these gathers. So just watch this part carefully, you understand what I mean by the time I've joined it. So I'll first of all go and join the part that I've gathered first of all from the loop to the other side of it. So I'll join it, and this excess is what I'll be pleating. So now this is the excess I'm talking about. Now I've joined my gathers and I've joined my zipper allowance there, but there's an excess, as you can see, that is still remaining that I have not pleated. This part is going to have my zip. So what I will do now is I'm going to pass my elastic through it. I didn't leave when I left the excess, but it's not going to be as much as it's supposed to be, because if you make it as much as the times 4, by the time you put your elastic through it and you wear your gown, there's going to be like a C at the back. It's not going to be straight, and that C might expose your underwear. So what I will do now is I'm going to add my elastic up to that point, and then I will leave this part because I'm going to put a zip. I'll fix a zip here, so that part there will be no elastic. So I'll just go and run I'll sew a part that I will pass my elastic through, and this is what I did. I passed my elastic through this part like this, and then I brought it out from this part of it as well, and then I left this part that I will be sewing my zipper on. I did the same thing for the other side as well. So make sure that this elastic is firm, like make sure that it's not too loose, because if it is loose, you are going to be having like a C at the back. The C will expose your underwear or anything you wear inside. So I've gone ahead now to add my zip at the back of the dress, and that is all for this dress, guys. I'm done with it. So this is how the inside is. I turned mine with the same fabric, so to make sure that I have a neat finishing. So this is it. This is the zip. You can see how firm that elastic part is. If you make yours slack, it's going to just have a C. So I'm just showing where I passed the elastic through and where I ended the elastic at that part. So that's all for this tutorial, guys. Please, guys, kindly like my videos, like the video, share to your friends and loved ones, anybody that you know that makes ready to wear that needs inspiration of anything to add to their collection. This will make a good addition to it. Please, guys, kindly subscribe to the channel. If you have any requests of any videos, please feel free to drop in the comment section. Thank you. I'll see you on my next one. Bye, guys.